Welcome aboard, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here with you Wednesday, January 8th, 2014. News flash. A herd of moose and caribou has just descended on Camrose, Canada, leaving the natives extremely restless. But they're all armed to the teeth up there, so it's only a matter of time until the dust settles. But I digress. In point of fact, real news, the MDs are up to it again. Remember, I refer to them kindly, correctly, politically incorrectly, as colorblind art critics who don't know that they're colorblind because their perspective on the delivery of medicine is jaded. It has a built-in bias that they're not even aware of. And the built-in bias colors everything that they do, especially in the treatment, understanding and treatment of chronic disease. Chronic disease, they're horrible at. But remember, they're like colorblind art critics who don't know that they're colorblind, and they have a built-in, blinders that they're unaware of. Breaking news. No buts. Raise tobacco tax, please. This is the latest recommendation published online January 1st. In the New England Journal of Medicine, a call to governments worldwide to triple tax on tobacco in order to prevent premature deaths from lung cancer and other diseases is made in a review article published online January 1st in the New England Journal of Medicine. I'm quoting from an online medical source called Medscape, medscape.com. It's kind of like a common ground for MDs to go to talk about what they're up to, right? It's like the MD chat room, right? The article goes on to say, the two certainties in life are death and taxes. We want higher tobacco taxes and fewer tobacco deaths, commented senior author Sir Richard Peto from the University of Oxford, United Kingdom, who was involved in one of the first epidemiologic trials to establish the damage caused by smoking. The damage caused by smoking. So the MDs are all about making us, as citizens, pay more in out-of-the-pocket money if we want to smoke cigarettes in order to reduce the amount of lung cancer, even though simple selenium supplementation, which has been proven to prevent lung cancer, I think between 30 and 40% of the time, the exact number escapes me, it's between 30 and 40% of the time, remains untalked about. I think it's 39%. 39% of the time, selenium supplementation, selenium is a mineral like calcium. If you take 200 micrograms of selenium every day, your chances of getting lung cancer reduce by 30-something%, which is a remarkable degree. 30% is a remarkable degree. The result of raising the tax, the article goes on to say, would be a reduction of cigarette consumption by about a third. By about a third. And only 85% of cancer deaths are caused by cigarette smoking. So that means that less than a third of the population wouldn't get cancer if we raise the taxes on cigarettes. A better investment of taxpayer money would be to make it mandatory to supplement with selenium every day. Number one. They don't go there because, remember, they're like colorblind art critics and they can't see beyond the end of their own spectacles. These people smell unduly of the lamp. They are completely lost in their own unrealistic view of what's going on in the world and the real causative factors of disease. Simple selenium supplementation reduces the occurrence of breast cancer by over 80%. 82%, I believe, reduces the occurrence of prostate cancer and breast cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, and ovarian cancer, I believe, by remarkable degrees. Lung cancer, even if you're a smoker, a reduction between 30 and 40%. That means simple supplementation of selenium will reduce your chances of getting breast cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, or ovarian cancer by remarkable degrees. Way better than chemotherapy. Now, does chemotherapy prevent cancer? No. The selenium does. It prevents the occurrence of cancer. But the MDs don't want to tell you that. They don't want to go there, even though this information has been published. It's been published. Because the MDs don't have any training and any understanding in pathophysiology from a nutritional perspective, they reject nutrition because, it's not a synthetic drug and there's no profit in it. It's nonsense, number one. So the numbers of people that die in the United States every year, it is about 135,000 U.S. deaths. The last year that statistics were available for this was 2007. And in the U.S., 159,000 people died from lung cancer. Since smoking is responsible for about 85% of lung cancer, statistically speaking, people who died from smoking cigarettes is about 135,000 a year. 135,000 a year. And the MDs are all up in arms about this. By raising taxes, they're going to reduce that number by 30%, less than 30%, which is a less significant number than what selenium supplementation would do. Selenium supplementation, a much better way to spend your money, number one. Number two, they're worried about 135,000 people a year dying. But they completely neglect the fact that over 700,000 people a year are killed by their therapeutics. Their therapeutics kill 700,000 people a year. If they're so worried about human suffering, then why don't they look to their own house? Why don't they remove the splinter in their own eye before they try to remove the beam in someone else's? Because they're unapologetic, arrogant. And we've given them our trust, we've given them our money, we've given them our respect, and quite frankly, they don't deserve it. And plus, 400,000 people a year die from heart disease, which is a direct result of exercise. 500,000 people practically. It's 3 times as many as die from lung cancer, die from heart disease, caused by exercise. So if they really wanted to make a difference in human suffering, they'd close every gym in the world. Can't exercise. There'd be a congressional investigation into the negative relationships between exercise and health, which already, quite frankly, have been duly noted. I believe it was Harvard University or the Journal of the American Medical Association about 7 years ago published an article that said when you get on a treadmill, your chance of getting a heart attack goes up by like 600%. It's nuts. We've got it all completely backwards. We don't know our ass from our elbow when it comes to health because we've listened to the MDs for hundreds of years, centuries. We've listened to them. We believe what they say, even though they're wrong, even though their point of view is biased and, quite frankly, crazy, and the stuff that they're concerned about is a non-starter and it's unbalanced. Really, you want to be concerned with human death and suffering? Then look to your own house. The leading cause of death in the United States is MD-directed medical treatment. Something like 780,000 people a year are killed. 12 women a day die from overdoses of prescription medications for pain. Let's talk about that. 500,000, nearly 400,000 die from cardiovascular events related directly to exercise. Let's talk about that. Oh, no, we can't talk about that. Because everybody knows exercise is good for you. Everybody knows a fat-free diet is good for you. Everybody knows that you just need to get on that treadmill and go, baby, go. It's nonsense. And we listen to them, even though they let us down, even though they fail us, even though they bankrupt us, even though they kill us. And quite frankly, when we're dead and gone, we're dead and gone, and there ain't nothing more to do. But what about when they kill your brother? What about when they kill your sister? What about your niece or your nephew or your son or your daughter or your mother or your father? Even when they do that, we give them a pass. And this is why I exist, to just shine a light on all of this, and then you can come to your own conclusion. Like the fella said, you're welcome to your own opinion, but not your own set of facts. The leading cause of death, the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, MD-directed medicine. While we've given ourselves over to these people, while we've let them monopolize the medical industry with pharmaceutical money, while we've let them profiteer their way to the top, while we have turned away from the fact that they don't let anybody else practice medicine, while we turn away from the fact that they're probably guilty of racketeering, by actively keeping every other medical professional out of the game. I mean, does your medical insurance provide for chiropractic care? Does it provide for naturopathic care? Does it provide for homeopathic care? Does it provide for herbal medicine? Does it pay for your nutritional supplements? Does it provide for naturopathic medical care? Does it provide for Ayurvedic medical care, which is the oldest system of medicine on the planet? No. What types of medicine are practiced in your hospital? Is Ayurveda practiced in your hospital? No. It's MD-directed medicine always, all the time, everywhere. They've monopolized the medical industry, but because they've done it for such a long time, we think that that's just the way that it is, and we think that they're the sawboss because their stuff must be better, but it's not. The only reason they're in numero uno posiciono is because they've paid everybody off. They made deals with legislators at the turn of the century here in the early 1920s to make it illegal for everybody else to practice medicine except the MD. And it's the same worldwide. Pharmaceutical companies kill people in Dachau and Auschwitz, commit genocide. Slave labor at the death camps. And after the Nuremberg trials, did any members of the pharmaceutical companies go to jail? No. They traded their uniforms for suits. And now they rule your life. Ladies and gentlemen, when you strip away all of the pretense and the propaganda, the simple fact of the matter is that the leading cause of death, the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, and the leading cause of human suffering around the world is stupid, old-fashioned, outdated medical therapeutics developed and delivered by MDs. You want to get your health back? You got to start somewhere. Good place to start is, number one, fire your MD. Number two, visit fireyourmdnow.com and tell everybody in your life to do the same. Knowledge is power, and I'm in the business of empowering people. I'm going to talk to Carol in Illinois. Stick around. Welcome back, Longevity Nation. Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health. You know, I've been around the block here, and it is my opinion, and it's a good one. Based on 25 years of clinical experience, that Dr. Wallach, the founder of Longevity, the developer of the formulations that we talk about and the health recovery strategies that we espouse, has forgotten more about pathophysiology than most physicians know. Dr. Wallach's track record, Dr. Wallach's resume, Dr. Wallach's publishing history, Dr. Wallach's scientific background in mainstream medicine is unrivaled by any living physician. And the fact that he's taken a stand for naturopathic medicine, for holistic medicine, is noteworthy. Because years ago, when Doc started and when I started, naturopathic medicine was not a sexy thing. It was talked about in hushed tones behind people's backs because, you know, we're like second-rate citizens, not really real doctors. Oh, you're not a real doctor. You're a naturopath. You're not a real doctor. This is the crap that we've had to put up with for decades. And Dr. Wallach chose to put up with it. Dr. Wallach could have gotten into any medical university in the world. He could have gotten a full-boat scholarship at Harvard University or Tufts based on the work that he did at the Yerkes Primate Research Center and for the World Health Organization. He was in charge of $25 million of federally funded research for 12 years. For goodness sake, Dr. Wallach literally wrote the book on medical nutrition, and inquiring minds want to know, why don't you know anything about him? Why don't you know this? Well, because we don't have a free medical market in the United States. It's completely controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. Now, is it in the pharmaceutical industry's best interests to make you aware of science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition, therapeutics that don't employ the use of drugs? Is it in their best interests to make you aware of that, or to keep you in the dark about that? Remember, pharmaceutical industry is a for-profit industry. It's a for-profit industry. You know those direct-to-consumer ads that you see on TV every night? You know why they do those? Because they work. They generate billions of dollars of positive profit a year. Billions of dollars, because people are stupid and they'll listen to anything if it's on the TV. It's a for-profit industry, and they don't want you to know. It's not in their best interests for you to know about us. So they keep you in the dark on purpose about us. You know, that guy Trudeau, Gary Trudeau, who I really don't have very much respect for. He's a great marketer, but he doesn't know anything about medicine. And yet he wrote a book years ago, The Top 100 Things or whatever that the medical industry doesn't want you to know about, and it sold millions of copies. Because that truth resonates with people, because it's true. Now, the stuff that he talked about in that book, you know, half of which I think is nonsense. But the point is that that book sold as much as it did because that statement, you know, these are the things that the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want you to know. That rings true with people because it's true. And Dr. Wallach's career is a testament to that. Dr. Wallach was working for Yerkes Primate Research Center in the 70s at Emory University in Atlanta. He was working on rhesus monkeys and discovered the first case of cystic fibrosis in a non-human, and he also discovered how to make it happen and how to make it not happen. If you removed the mineral selenium from the diet of a pregnant rhesus monkey mother, the child was born with cystic fibrosis. It's a selenium deficiency, a nutrient deficiency in utero while the baby is developing in the mother's womb. Wallach proved this. And when he showed his research to the heads of Emory University, they rejected it outright because it was inconsistent with their belief. They did the same thing to Wallach that they did to Galileo. Galileo, you know, goes to the Pope and says, best news ever, I've just proved that the earth goes around the sun, and it's not the sun that goes around the earth, and they threw him in jail until he recanted. Because even though it was a fact, even though he had evidence and could prove it to be so, it was inconsistent with their point of view. And this is the way that it is in the world. The MDs bring to the table a monopolistic, profiteering point of view, which is completely inconsistent with the reality of what it is to be a human being, completely inconsistent with the pathogenesis of disease, and when they are told otherwise, they reject it outright. How very scientific is that? They are among the most hypocritical human beings walking on the face of the earth, and they must be avoided like the plague, unless, of course, you're bleeding to death. Unless, of course, you really do need that kidney removed. Unless, of course, you need that wound sutured up. That's their ballpark. That's their wheelhouse. Our wheelhouse, everything else. FireYourMDNow.com. 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 Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health, pulling back the curtain on all things medical and talking about the stuff that's so far outside of your knowledge base that you didn't know that. My intention here every day is to give all of my listeners a eureka experience about something to do with health. There is so much to know here because, quite frankly, we've been brainwashed, for lack of a better word. We have been fed false information for hundreds of years by the MDs. False information. Now, they believed it, but they're incorrect. And because you put them on a pedestal, you believed it too. Because that's human nature, and what we do here is pull back the curtain. Let's go to Illinois, talk to Carol about estrogen and breast cancer, I think. Hey, Carol, thanks for the phone call. You are live.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you?
Good. Thanks for calling. How can I help?
Good. Thank you. Yeah, in 2011, I was diagnosed with estrogen receptor-positive breast cancer.
Ouch.
Was in remission for 2 years, and then it came back. So when it came back...
Whoa. Slow down. Did they give you tamoxifen?
Well, they gave me tamoxifen for about a month after I had my ovaries removed, which I opted to do. So I was on that for about a month, but then they took me off of tamoxifen, and I started taking another, I think it's aromatase, some kind of estrogen blocker. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, and when you originally got the diagnosis, did they do biopsy or a lumpectomy or radical mastectomy or radiation or chemo?
I did chemo and radiation. I did not need to have my breast removed, so I didn't get that. that has not returned in either of the breasts. It actually returned in a new area, which was on the bone.
Okay, so, all right, so stop right there, and I'm going to give you as much time as you want. I'll talk to you for 2 hours, but I need to walk my audience through this one step at a time, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we just got to take this slowly one step at a time. So you were diagnosed with breast cancer, and the MDs enrolled you in aggressive therapeutics, which failed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, now when they enrolled you in these aggressive therapeutics, did they tell you that they were going to fail? Or what did they tell you? What did they communicate to you about what they were doing?
The doctor that I have, renowned doctor, as they say, believes his own hype, and I started believing it too, but it was I can treat you, the kind of breast cancer that you have is highly treatable. And so from that point on, I went through the program that they gave me, which was chemotherapy first, and I had very intense chemo treatment. Some of the strongest cocktail of the chemo treatment that's out there.
Did you get chemo brain from it?
Yes, I did.
And did you develop any lingering negative side effects from the chemo treatment? I mean, did it hurt your kidney or your liver or give you psoriasis or anything like that?
No, surprisingly not. No, I didn't get any of those side effects.
Okay, and how much did it cost?
Ooh, well, after we looked at it, it was roughly around almost $2 million for all the treatment.
Okay, and how much of that did you pay for out of your own pocket?
About $1,000, actually. My husband has extremely good insurance, so it was about $1,000.
How much does your husband pay for his medical insurance every month?
About almost $600.
All right, $600 a month. That's $7,200 a year. Let's say he's done that for 20 years, so that's what?
Paid into it.
Yeah, right. That's a lot of money. But in any event, the MDs enrolled you in a $2 million therapy that failed.
Right.
Now, did you press legal charges against the MDs because they baited and switched you or because they sold you a false bill of goods? Did you pursue any type of legal remedies against them?
No, I haven't. I haven't done that because I'm just in the point now that I'm trying to. I'm just like a lab rat.
I get it. And even if you had wanted to pursue a legal remedy, you wouldn't be able to, because they have indemnified themselves against that when you go in for the treatment. Because when you go in for the treatment, they make you sign a paper that says that you release them from any negative stuff happening from any of the therapeutics. Now, this is the only profession in the world that you can get away with this type of nonsense. $2 million worth of treatment that the MD assured you would work, and they failed. It failed. It failed. And not only did it fail, but an aggressive chemotherapeutic program like that is going to create massive amounts of pain and suffering while you're getting the chemo. What was that like for you? What was your chemo treatment like?
The chemo treatment itself, it was, I think the worst of it was more the chemo brain, because I didn't have any physical ailments. I didn't have any pain in the bone until I started taking the hormone, the estrogen blockers. Yeah. And when I started taking those meds, I had intense bone pain.
So the meds that they gave you created massive amounts of pain, which you didn't have before you took the meds.
Exactly.
And you didn't have cancer in the bone before you took the meds.
That's correct.
And now you do.
Right.
Unbelievable.
And then the story, the plot thickens, I should say. So last year, when we discovered that I was no longer in remission, the cancer was on the bone, as I stated, and so he wanted to try a new FDA-approved drug that they had tested over in Europe, and which is Afinitor, but which was really used for, I think, colon cancer originally, but they said there were benefits for women in breast cancer that they saw. So I started taking that along with an estrogen blocker. That did well for about, my tumor CTC count went down to 2. So that was good for about 6 to 8 weeks. Well, then it stopped working, and then all of a sudden, hey, it's not working. So now so then it was, and this was in September at this point. So then he took me off of the one estrogen blocker and put me on tamoxifen with the Afinitor.
Yeah.
So Afinitor is a chemotherapy oral drug to take, and it's supposed to work with the blocker. So I guess it kind of works like a police who's trying to direct traffic.
Well, so the operative word in all of your statements is it is experimental and it is supposed to.
It's supposed to, exactly. And so there's nothing out there that says it's definite, right? It's these are the things that it's supposed to do. Now, like I said, the drug recently went back 2 days ago, see that the tamoxifen with the Afinitor is not working. Yeah. So, but when he tested me back, I had a PET scan done in September. I had it looks like it moved to the liver. So the speck there. So I'm like, okay, now we're getting ridiculous with where else is it going to go? Well, we can cut it off right here at the pass, so let's just do, more the oral chemo, and we're going to try it with the tamoxifen. Yeah. Now, I have been drinking water like crazy and, doing the green tea and the juicing, using the celery and the carrots and the apples. And so when I go in, it's supposed to be a holistic treatment. It's the medicine, and then they try to incorporate kind of the naturopathic kind of. Well,
they do this at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, yeah?
Exactly. And but they don't. So anytime I go in and I say, well, what about this? What about green tea? What about juicing celery? What about, and they look at me as if I'm crazy. Well, isn't that a part of what you're supposed to be?
Well, this is a good thing to talk about. Cancer Treatment Centers of America touts themselves as being holistically oriented, and that they, in fact, do employ licensed naturopathic physicians. But they employ naturopathic treatments not as cancer treatments, but as cleanup treatments to clean up the negative effects of chemo and radiation.
Correct.
So that their patients can get more chemo and radiation. As far as I'm concerned, it's a bait and switch operation. Now, that's my opinion. I don't, and really, if I was an independently wealthy and I had hundreds of free hours a month to do investigation, I would nail Cancer Treatment Centers of America to the wall, or I would attempt to. Because in my opinion, they use false information to lure patients in, as every cancer treatment clinic in the world does. Now, but I'm interested to understand here, and I just want to kind of get an insight into the psychology here, right? Mm-hmm. So, and everybody in the world does this, but I want you to kind of try to articulate why you did it, and I think I know. So, given the fact that their therapeutics failed you the first time around, right? Mm-hmm. Why did you go back to them the second time? Why did you do that?
I think at that point you're kind of in survival mode, and so you
exactly.
don't know.
You're working out of fear. You're fear-based. Right, exactly. And that's how they win. That's how they get money. That's how they maintain their top dog status. It's out of fear. And, honestly, for goodness sake, we're not against drugs and surgery. We're not. We're not against pharmaceuticals. I'm not against it. If it works, great. But it never works. Not for this. And the MDs upsell it all of the time, and nobody holds their feet to the fire. Now, I wrote a book called The MD Emperor Has No Clothes. You can download it for $10. Just go to my website, fireyourmdnow.com. And I wrote a little chapter on cancer, and that chapter has 10 questions that every cancer patient needs to ask their oncologist with a witness and with a recording. Dear doctor, does this cancer treatment work? Does it cure my cancer? If it doesn't cure it, what can I expect? What are the side effects? How much does it cost? What does it do to my body? How much do you make? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There were just 10 simple questions that every cancer patient needs to ask their oncologist. And if you ask your current people at Cancer Treatment Centers of America these 10 questions with a witness, and you record it, then by listening to their answers, you will understand whether or not the therapeutics that they're presenting to you are worthwhile for you to follow or not. Sometimes they are. Most of the times they're not. But you need to know. And it's not the MD's job to inform you. It's the MD's job to sell you the treatment because they work for a hospital that's profit-based. Cancer Treatment Centers of America, it's a private hospital. It's a for-profit organization. It's the doctor's job to sell you the treatment, period. That's what they're going to do. They're going to sell you the treatment the same way they try to sell you a car. And, it's wrong. So here we are, right? I mean, after all of this Sturm und Drang and Storm and Stress, you're getting worse and worse and worse. How is it that I can help?
I was looking at some of the programs that were out there in terms of like the Healthy Start packs and all those things, and what I wanted to do, because I just feel like my body has, taken in all these toxins, right, and all this stuff that they've given me. And just to kind of detox from that, and don't know if I will get, benefit. Like I said, when they did my test to see, first of all, they wanted to do the BRCA. There was no history of breast cancer in my family. Yeah. What happened was they linked it to an IVF procedure that I had before. Yeah. So my cancer was 99% estrogen-based.
Yeah.
So knowing that, what can I do? Is it broccoli? I mean, what is it that I could do better to at least, I don't want to have to keep taking these meds.
All right. You was the luckiest day of your life, Carol. Thank God you called me. You stick around. We're up against a hard break. I'm going to dial it in for you when we get back. Do we treat cancer? No. That's against the law, by the way. But I can tell Carol, I can tell you, I can tell anybody in the world what they can do to support and promote the structure and function of their immune system. It's as easy as falling off a potato truck. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here, finishing up the first hour with Carol from Illinois. And she's up against it, dealing with breast cancer and ineffective, extremely expensive medical treatments sold to her, kind of a bait-and-switch method. Quite frankly, unbelievable that these people haven't gone to jail. But here we are. Let me bring Carol back up. Carol, are you still with me?
Yes.
All right, good. So now here we go, right? So now, a couple things to understand. It's illegal, and if this doesn't make you really mad, then you're just not paying attention. It's illegal for anybody in the United States except an MD to treat cancer. You can't do it. That's why there are no alternative cancer treatment centers in the U.S. They all exist in Mexico or, somewhere other than inside U.S. borders, because the pharmaceutical industry has made it illegal for anybody but an MD to practice oncology. You can't do it. Even though their treatments are completely ineffective, as you're witnessing yourself firsthand. $600 billion they've spent on cancer research. $600 billion we've given them. They have profited $600 billion and have delivered nothing to us in the form of practical cancer cure. It's nonsense. And we can't treat it. But all that we do have in the alternative community is, and I say alternative in quotes, in the holistic medical community, is anecdotal evidence provided by brave holistic practitioners all around the world who do in fact treat cancer and who have had successes with it. So what I can tell you is and first of all, right, you don't have breast cancer because you have estrogen. You don't have breast cancer because you have a breast. And you don't have breast cancer because you have a human body. You don't. Now, you may have estrogen-sensitive cancer cells, but the research is inconclusive as to how that happens and why. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Now, we know what it is, but we don't know where it came from or what the freak to do about it, because the MDs have let us down in their ridiculous research methodologies. So we don't need to detoxify your system. We need to give your body nutritional support so that it can optimize its function to the best of its ability. It can optimize its function to the best of its ability, because something was out of balance. Something was wrong inside your body to begin with, and that's why you got breast cancer, not because you have breasts, and not because there's estrogen in your body, but because something was out of whack. So a prudent person would deliver to their body a nutritional strategy, a nutritional program the intention of which was to give the body all of the raw materials that it needs to support and promote its optimal function. Step back, get out of the way, keep your fingers crossed, and see how far back the body bounces. So that's what I can tell you to do. I can provide you with a program that will support and promote your body's ability to optimize its function. And, it's not to be misconstrued as a breast cancer treatment. So how much do you weigh?
I'm 5'9", and I'm at 169.
Okay, so here's what you need to do. Number one, eliminate 10 foods from your diet. 10. You can download that list for free on the front page of my website, fireyourmdnow.com. Sign up for my free newsletter, and the list is yours for free. fireyourmdnow.com. Sign up for the newsletter, download the Good Food, Bad Food Diet, and eliminate the 10 bad foods yesterday. Number one. Number two, take 2 anti-aging healthy start packs a month. 2 anti-aging healthy start packs a month. 4 bottles of Ultimate Selenium a month. 4 bottles of Ultimate Selenium a month. 2 anti-aging healthy start packs a month. And as much Z-Radical as you can afford. Z-Radical is a liquid. It's got a product in it called fucoidan. It's an extract from a sea vegetable, and fucoidan has been documented to increase apoptosis, which is pre-programmed cell death of cancer cells. It's not a bad idea. As much Z-Radical as you can afford. If you can afford a bottle a day, get it. If you can afford a bottle a week, get it. If you can afford a bottle a month, get it. This on top of the anti-aging healthy start pack and selenium, and eliminate the 10 bad foods. Start this program and call me back every 3 weeks, more or less, with a progress report, and we'll see how you do. And ask your oncologist the 10 questions in my book. Ask them the 10 questions with a witness and a recorder, and then I'll play the recording on the radio. That's what I'd love to do that, Carol. Thanks for finding us. We're out of time. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. God bless and good luck. Coming up with the second hour, folks, when we come back, I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Stick around.